So let's begin when we finish our previous lesson. So just to remind you, we managed to create projects in two ways. So we used starter, and we also we used empty starter, as well as the one which has MDB connected. So let's work on one of these. Let's say I'm going to use this one, open it in the Visual Studio Code, which you already know, and this is how it looks like now. So we have carousel working fine. So let's build some page. We're going to build let's build a blog page. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use MD Bootstrap components over here. So we already have connected MDB, CSS and JS. So now we can basically start using components. So let's start with some navigation. So something which is called navbar. And there are plenty of examples over here which you can use. We're not gonna go into that. We have separate tutorials on that if you want to check our channel. So let's gonna use the first code. By the way, for those of you who don't know how to code it, don't worry. We're gonna do a little bit of copy paste here. We're gonna do some adjustments, but we have also the full HTML and CSS course on our channel. So check this one if you want to learn step by step how to code. Here I will be doing some very basic stuff which I'm gonna explain on the way. So what we are doing right now, we are basically copying this predefined code over here. We have some elements over here. We have some classes over there, and this is what we're gonna slightly adjust for our project. So I clicked over here, I copied it, and now let's get back to our index file. As you can see, we have the carousel here. Let's remove it for the time being. We're gonna use carousel in our project, but first let's start with our navigation. So I'm gonna add something called header. By the way, if you don't know how does it work, so instead of typing everything, so like open, header, close, and then let it auto close, what I did, I just typed header, and then I pressed tab button, and VS Code, or actually Emmet built-in VS Code, did this kind of a magic for me. So inside our header, I'm gonna paste our navigation bar, and this is how our project looks now. So we have it here. And as you can see, we have this navigation bar over there. As you can see, there's a lot of space over here. So let's work on that. This is because we used container fluid. So inside Bootstrap, there is something which is called container, which is, as the name suggests, it's a container for our content, and there are two options for that. You can have container fluid, which will take the full width, or you can have just a container, which will leave some margins. As you can see, this focus our site directly onto the center of the screen. So let's focus our content just to make sure that it's just easily readable. Obviously, sometimes we do need to use the full width of our page, but in some cases like this one, we don't want to use it. Okay, so we have this one. Let's use the carousel now. So imagine we have a blog and we want to have top 3 or top 5 blog posts to be shown at the top in a really fancy way. So I'm gonna search for carousel over here, and we have this carousel there. So let's have a look what other options we have here. So okay, so here we have some nice material rounded version. How about that? Let's use this one. So I'm gonna copy this, and let's get back to our code. This is our navbar. I'm gonna collapse it, and just down below that, I'm gonna put our carousel. Let's have a look at it. It looks okay. It's quite big, so we need to make it smaller. How we make it smaller? What we're gonna also use container again. So navbar has its own container built in, right? So if we collapse this one, we will have our carousel over here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do new div with a class container. And now we will put this carousel inside our container, and that looks much better. However, as you can see, we have not enough space over there, so let's do small things over here. And let's add margin top 5. So class which is adding us a bit of margin over there. And actually, you know what? We also, well, let's change it to my, which gonna add some margin not only here but also over there before, or actually after our carousel and before our next element. Great. So we have our carousel. Imagine these are our posts. Post number 1, 2, 3, most recent post. Down below, we want to add another post, so we're gonna show something else, but we don't want to take that much space. So let's use something like cards for that. Okay, so let's navigate to cards, documentation, and here we have our cards, right? I'm gonna use something which is called a group of cards. So cards grid. Okay, we could use this one. So we could have like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But perhaps 1, 2, 3, let me think. But perhaps we can use maybe, yeah, let's use this example. Let's have a look how it looks like. So I'm gonna copy this one and I'm gonna paste it into our code. So we have header, we can close this one because now we're gonna move to our main part of our site, and let's see how it looks like. And as you can see, again, we need to make it a little bit more tight. So we have rows here. Let's do container. As you can see, I just start typing with dot and then I'm putting container. Now when I press tab, I'm gonna get the div with the class container. So I'm gonna grab this one and surround it with it. So as you can see, this was pushed to the right, which means this is our opening div, this is closing, and this is the content. So let's see how it looks like. Perfect. So now we have just 4, but you can imagine then that the more post we have, the more cards we would also use over here. So we have this row over here, and let's assume, let me copy this first and then the second column. So this is the one, and I'm gonna paste it at the very end. So now we're gonna have 6. So this is how it looks like right now. So we can imagine here we have all different pages, which will, or all different cards, which will link to our post. Okay, now we need to finalize our page. So I'm gonna add something at the very bottom, which gonna be our footer. So let's go to the footer, and there are different footers like you can see here, but these have a lot of components. So I think I'm gonna stick to the very basic one, which is over here. Obviously, feel free to use this. You can get some parts of it and then remove which you don't need or don't want. I wanna have very minimalistic one, so I'm just gonna copy that one, and let's search for our main. Let's collapse it, and now we're gonna add footer. Let's see, here's our footer, and that looks perfect. By the way, this footer is down, it's at the very bottom. However, if we would have less content, let me show you that. So for example, I'm gonna remove main for a second. You can see that now it's going to the middle of our page. If we don't want him to do that, we can simply fix that by adding something called sticky footer. So if we navigate here, it says that in order to have a sticky footer, we need to add fixed bottom. So let's add fixed bottom. And now, although there is nothing over here in our page, we still have our footer pushed to the very end of our page. And now I can obviously paste back our content. Perfect, that looks great, that looks awesome. However, we don't have option to actually get into our post. So let's add some button over here, which will say read more. So let's grab some buttons. Okay, and let's say I'm gonna use this one. I like the info one, so I'm searching for the info. I'm gonna copy paste it, and now let me find our first card, which is div card text. Okay, so let's put it over here. Let's put read more and let's see how it looks like. Yeah, if we want to push it to the right, let's use class float-end, and this will work like a charm. Perfect. So the only thing which is left is just to copy paste this one to the each and every card which we are using in our project. So here and here and here and here. Okay, perfect. Now we have all of them. It seems like we need some margin over here, so let's also add margin to our container. So we have this container, margin bottom 5, and now it's visible, it's not going below the footer. Perfect, so our page is done. In the next video, I'm gonna show you how to publish it to the web so everyone could see it.